is an advocate of the High Court. She calls herself an assistant attorney. All right, fancy title there. Patricia Simiyu. To tell us more about it. Patricia, welcome to Hot 96.
Thank you, Jeff.
This is Lawyers Without Borders.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Our title or our work emanates from the word Lawyers Without Borders. Ideally, we cross borders to share ideas, to build capacity of justice system actors, and at the tail end to promote human rights and rule of law. So we do this in a series of ways. It could be through trial advocacy trainings, like what we had previously in this wildlife crime project. We do what we call trial observations, where we could have lawyers sitting in a trial, observe whether it has been done in accordance with what the law prescribes in a given jurisdiction. We do collaborations in other senses, of course, other than just capacity building, the very essence of capacity building in the sense of, say, trial advocates would be having lawyers from different organizations, different areas in the world, come together and share ideas, share their ways of doing trials, and just ensure that we are all at the same page.
Yeah. Now, is this a collaboration across the region, across the continent, across the world?
Absolutely, it is across the world, I would say, because we have projects currently running in Kenya, in Tanzania. This is just in Africa, and then we have other projects in South America. We have other projects in Asia, and our head office in the US. Ideally, just trying to traverse the continent, different continents, trying to ensure that rule of law is adhered to.
Yeah. So tell us something about these wildlife crimes. What do we mean? What do we mean when we talk about wildlife crimes?
So wildlife crimes will be crimes ideally affecting either endangered species in the wildlife part, or whether it is forestry crimes. So ideally what is contained in this wildlife mock trial competition, it's actually a wildlife mock trial competition. It's a US state-funded project, two-year project, which are aimed at building the capacity of prosecutors in Kenya and Tanzania, and also judges and magistrates, to effectively respond to and prosecute cases of wildlife trafficking. So what we did, we started off with trainings, mock trial advocacy trainings for the lawyers in Kenya and in Tanzania, and also judges and magistrates in Kenya had a chance to be trained. That was back in 2019. After trainings, after the trial advocacy training, they were able to sieve the most, say, prosecutors who had tendency to interact with cases of wildlife crime.
We're talking everything from poaching,
from illegal, handling of endangered species, right, forestry crimes, anything to do with illegal logging and all that.
Yeah. Yes. And obviously, poaching and illegal trade is on the rise. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. It's every day. I think every day we get to hear cases of poaching, of just endangered species being trafficked, and it is also linked to other forms of organized crime. So it is essential then for us to build the capacities of actors within these systems to effectively respond to these cases, and at the very least to just try to prevent, so that we have a reduction in these cases.
Yeah, so when does the real deal begin? It's been mock trials throughout, right? When do you get to practice what you preach?
So ideally these mock trials, while they're ongoing right now, we get to have our prosecutors practice in court at the same time. We try to run them concurrently, so that we don't have a chunk of prosecutors completely cut out from their work every day. It is our hope that they're able to incorporate what they have learned in their daily life. We already have seen a feedback from our trainees, both in private practice and prosecutors, who have said that the training and the whole mock trial project has been very influential, has changed their mindset, has helped build their capacity. They can now argue their cases better, they can now prosecute better, they have better knowledge. So I think that it is a living experience. We are able to see results in the course, and it's our hope that we can see further results at the end of the project.
Yeah,
So
and the project ends quite soon, doesn't it?
sure, absolutely. We had our mock trials. Prior to the mock trials, we had scrimmages round where we have 24 finalists, from 12 from Tanzania and 12 from Kenya. They were taken through a series of scrimmage rounds where they were coached by coaches from the US, from Canada, in preparations for this final mock trial competition. We had our first preliminary round last week on 18th, and we had 6 teams of 4 people each. They were able to face each other. We had judges, and marks were awarded based on the teams that performed better, whether in terms of arguing their case, in terms of opening statements, it could be in terms of closing statements, cross-examination, the examination, and all that.
In places like South Sudan, places like the Congo,
Yes.
where, they are, even Lawyers Without Borders are out of reach.
Yes.
What happens in places like that? Where, remote places where illegal logging, illegal ivory trade, illegal trafficking is taking part?
Absolutely, we understand. Like for such areas, we would understand it's some sense of organized crime, and it can traverse from one region to another. We'll get logging, say illegal logging or and trafficking of endangered species, say from Congo to Kenya, through Kenya to US. We try to make collaboration. There are certain areas, of course, we have not not ventured into. Of course, just trying. We are still working on, say, avenues to see if we are able to access. But for now, we are limited, whether in terms of funding, in terms of the project, to the current areas that we are working in. But it does not, at the same time, take away the fact that we are watchful of organized crime and how they operate, and we are also keen on ensuring that anything that passes through Kenya, our officers are able to spot and are able to respond effectively.
Human trafficking.
Absolutely.
That's also another, problem that goes on everywhere.
Everywhere. We take note of that. We currently have a project on human trafficking. However, I'm not the one handling it. We have our office working with the necessary departments in Kenya, with a view of building capacity of actors, creating modules to ensure that we have an appropriate way to respond to it. It is alive. We are alive to the fact that human trafficking is happening everywhere. We have to be on the lookout.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The greatest experience you've gained from this, what can you say? What could you describe as been the greatest thing you've gained from this program?
I would say knowledge, and the fact that I'm able to work with different people from different areas. I'm able to work remotely. I'm able to gain knowledge from different prosecutors, former judges, and to be able to just have a sitting session with a current assistant district attorney in the US, I think for me is a great boost to my knowledge. I'm able to get an idea of how they do their work. I'm able to know how they impeach the witnesses, how they prepare their cases. For me, that is really a plus for me as an advocate.
Yeah. Obviously, it must have been very difficult the last 14 months with COVID-19.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Has it changed the way you all do your business?
Absolutely. We had, of course, initially had the idea to have these meetings in person, and we had to adjust. Because we couldn't do that in person. We are now techno-savvy. Everyone is able to follow our meetings on Zoom, at least for the participants. We had to adjust, and I think it's a good thing. We are able to meet up with different people at the same time in a single meeting. For me, I would say it's also a blessing in disguise, such that we can be able to do this thing at this time. Yeah. It's really good.
Absolutely.
For us.
If someone is hearing about you guys for the very first time,
yes.
How can they get in touch if they have issues, if they have something they'd like to address? How do they get in touch?
I think the easiest way would be to check us out on our website. We most of us work remotely, but we have a website at www.lwob.org. We are also on other social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Lawyers Without Borders. We're on Twitter, Lawyers Without Borders, and we're also on Instagram.
Do you get queries from all over the place? Do you get, first timers all the time asking you, hey, listen, we have major issues here. Can you help us?
Not so much for the moment, and I would ideally think we haven't had that much interaction because of the COVID situation right now. But I'm thinking there have been instances that, say, previously during our one-on-one sessions or meetings, we've been able to interact with people or organizations that would really need our help or intend to partner with us.
Once the program ends in June, you said June is the next month, right?
Yes.
What happens? Is it renewed or everyone goes back to business as usual?
So for the time being, everyone goes back to business as usual and just puts to work the knowledge that they have gained. It is our hope that, of course, we can have something like this in future, but I would not authoritatively confirm that we have something like that. But we are hoping that we can have future collaborations. We are hoping that our prosecutors will put to work what they have learned. We are hoping that they will do better than they came.